And the podcast is for what? For whom?
The podcast name is Stop Interviewing, Start Selling. And essentially I started it before because just right after COVID hit, where a lot of people were losing their jobs and not having a lot of employment, and the unemployment rate was much higher. And
Okay.
utilizing my sales tactics from what I learned from martial arts training, and then also what I learned from business to business sales for the past 20 years. Essentially what I wanted to do was give back to people that may not have the same skill that I do as far as marketing myself, and utilizing those skills to progress themselves. So that being said, I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today. We're live right now, so thank you so much for doing this.
All right. Okay.
Sorry, I should have given you a countdown there. But for those of you that are watching the show that may not know this gentleman, this is Chief Master Sergio Von Schmeling. He is the president, CEO, the founder of Victory Martial Arts, and one of the people that I probably admire and respect the most out of a lot of people that I've met in my life. And we'll get into more of that. But Chief Master, welcome to the show. Thank you so much again for doing this.
It is my pleasure.
Excellent. How's everything in Florida going?
In Florida, it's depends on who you ask. Just like everybody else in the world, it's depends on who you ask. And it depends what aspect, in life. We have many different aspects, and business, some people doing great, and martial art business, I don't think many people doing great. I read in so many schools that are closing or they cannot operate. In Florida, actually, we're doing better than other states, because I think we are a little bit more aggressive on the interaction with people, and it's like 1% of the population, they don't care, they will take any risk. Other, they are a little bit more cautious, and other people, they just say nope, I won't take any chance, and that's what we're dealing with.
The 1% of people that you mentioned that will just take any risk, they don't care, that pretty much describes all of Idaho. So I still see restaurants that are open. I still see restaurants that are open, and there's still gyms that are open, and people are going inside working out, and some people wear masks, other people don't. So
if I would divide the whole population in the United States, maybe even in the world, I would divide by a third and third and third. And like I say, a third of the population, they're just so fearful and so I would say submissive, and they just accept that they won't do nothing, and they're just gonna stay home, and they won't take any chance, and they don't go to work, and just almost like freeze. And the other ones, they are moving very cautiously, is in between. They go to work, but they use masks, and they are like just very careful. And it's a third of the population, they just believe that, hey, nothing matter, I'm gonna live my life, and nobody gonna tell me how to do it and how to live, and they go and live their life. Now, who is right? It's depend on your attitude,
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you on that. It does seem the attitude's very different. Like for me, as a business to business salesperson, to go into different businesses, it's really hard to see people that are essentially losing their livelihoods because of this. And even up here, the first 2 months or first 3 months that it hit, a lot of people like myself were actually told to stay home, but then after 3 weeks, everybody just kind of came back out. Now everybody has to play catch up, and they have to innovate their business even more. And a lot of cases, like auto mechanics, they stayed open because they're essential, but then you have gym owners or martial arts schools owners that they can't go face to face, or they have limitations.
And I don't know how we came with this, what is essential and what is not, because even on that, what is essential is not, even so, grocery store look like they're essential, but also they were a liquor store, they were open. And I imagine for some people that's essential. And I have a hard time to understand that the health or the fitness part, even martial art, is become no essential when when it's an emotional, I mean, it's martial art, for example, it's not just that it's important for the body, but it's for the emotion. And at this moment, what we need to have the most is a very excited attitude about life, and for many reasons. And one of the reasons is that we already know that our immune system, they are affected very much under the stress and the fear, and our immune system dropped tremendously. And we already know that this supposed to coronavirus is I would say very contagious, but not very lethal. But it's more lethal for those people that their immune system is very low and their emotion is very low. That's just my take from it.
Yeah. Well, when you say the essential thing, it's funny because when I mention to people that I started my sales career in martial arts, they look at me funny. They go, "What do you mean
Yeah.
sales? Like, how does that fit in with martial arts? How do you learn to market yourself?" And I mean, it makes me think about the first time I ever picked up a phone script. That I think it was your program that had actually implemented that. And I remember
Yeah.
role playing with the team back in Roseville and Lincoln, California, and thinking to myself,
I remember.
like, when am I ever going to use this again? But then fast forward, that's what I do for a living every day is I make phone calls. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so tell my listeners a little bit more about yourself. I mean, obviously you're from Paraguay, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So,
Well, not much to say from Paraguay. I mean, Paraguay is in a small country in the middle of South America. It's in between Brazil, Argentina, and Bolivia. And it's a landlocked country. That means that we don't have an ocean exposure. Then perhaps then we don't have much exposure to, or we didn't have much exposure to traveling until airplanes. Then most people, they didn't have much reason to go to Paraguay, and the Paraguayan people, they don't have any reason to travel also because of the Paraguay is a very, I would say, um, not very socialist involved country. I mean, very introverted country, I would say. And also our first language is Guarani, which is an Indian native from Paraguay. Then the people prefer to speak Guarani, and this is the only country in the world that they speak that language. Then many people, at least, I don't know, 80% of the population, they speak Guarani, and second language is Spanish. Then when they mix those two languages, it's not very easy to interact with other countries. Then Paraguay is very unique. I was able to get out of Paraguay for many reasons. One is my ancestor, my father and my ancestor, the German ancestor, then was always the curiosity of getting out of Paraguay. Mm-hmm. And I started to get out through martial art and travel, going to other countries, competing in martial art. And then in 1988, I came to America to compete for the first time, and I just knew that this is the country that I want to belong to. And 1989, I moved here, and I own 5 martial arts schools there in Paraguay until 1989. When I came here, I was offered to stay, and I went back and I saw my schools, give away my schools, and I moved here in 1989. And I was sponsored by Grandmaster Clark in Jacksonville, Florida. And from that time, I love, of course, I became an American, and I'm an American by choice. And I believe that this is the greatest country in the world. Even so, that many people in this country that they never maybe live in other countries, and they don't see, or they are not able to compare. There are many critics from America, but I'm one of those raving fans from America. Yeah.
Wow. So obviously with Victory Martial Arts, for people that don't know, you have, is it 44 schools now?
Yeah, actually every time, and I never take my time to count it because we had over 40 schools, and at one moment I think it was 49, and then of course many things happened. I have 2 schools in Valencia, Spain. I have a schools licensed school because we had 4 schools now, I guess 6 schools that they had license of Victory that I don't own it, that they joined as a license. One in Sydney, Australia, 2 in Valencia, Spain, that they were mine, and then I sold it. And then I have 3 other schools here in Central Florida. They are licensed schools. And the reason they are licensed schools here in Central Florida is because in one moment, I wasn't sure what I'm gonna do, and I want to make sure that the top people that they start with me, Victory Martial Art here in America, they were 3. Actually, there were 3 South American instructors, 2 from Brazil and 1 from Paraguay. One of my students is being with me for 36 years, and he moved here, and when I decided to sell my school, I sold the license to him. And another one is a Brazilian, 2 other senior masters from Brazil that they've been with me for over 20 some years, and it was a way for me to give them something that they can own it, and but they still member of Victory very much. And then the other schools, I own it, or I have 90% ownership, or some of them 51% ownership, depend on the states. And I had a great partners, and they helped me to make my life easier by running and helping me to and lately, because the COVID-19 and things like that, we have to merge some of the schools, and we actually closed 5 schools merging, and I'm not very proud of that, neither I'm very sad for it, because it's just the measurements that you need to do in moments like this, where you need to right size and make decisions based on economics and based on convenience, based on what is good for the business and good for the finance. And I make those choices, and I'm, like I say, I'm not very proud, neither I'm very sad for it.
Right.
Then I think we have like 41, 42 schools right now.
Right. That's incredible. So just to give people an idea that are listening, an average school, as far as active students, I mean, would you say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 600, or is it lower than that?
No, much lower than that. Well, it depends also, because it's like you need to decide what is your business model. Like, if you look at Starbucks, they are like 200 square feet or 1,500 square feet, and then you have Walmart that is, 100,000 square feet, and it's like, depending on what is the model that I believe in Victory. I try to keep my schools in between 2,000 to 3,000 square feet facility with an average of 200 students per school. I have some school with over 300 active students. I used to, when I teach, I have schools with four close to 500 students, but that model is very difficult to sustain, and that require a lot of people work on facility, require big overhead, and it's just not a model that is attractive for me.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that really opened my eyes to business and kind of made me fall more in love with dealing with business people and professionals and getting much more into sales was hearing your story, and then also speaking to some of your instructors that were extremely motivated to work with you, and just seeing what was possible, right? Because I mean, up to that point, up to being exposed to Victory and coming out to, I believe it was Jacksonville, Florida, where you had your seminar. We actually came out there.
Yeah.
Seeing that location made me go, wow, you can actually be really, really accomplished at this, and you can actually make a really good living doing it too. But that being said, how do you market to parents? Why do parents choose Victory Martial Arts over the rest of the competition?
First, we usually try to avoid the world competition with other martial arts, because we're doing the same thing. I think in any business, the reason that people will choose you over your other similar, I would say in this case, you use the word competition, similar industry, is that you offer more value that you add more value in your product than anybody else. then the key of any business to succeed and strive and even kill the competition is that they just add so much value. Then we try in the Victory to add value, and how you add value is by knowing exactly who's your ultimate client and what exactly they want from you, because you cannot have a product, and you can have a great product, but if that product is not the ultimate benefits for your client, nobody's gonna pay you for it. Then with martial art, in my case, I know what the parents want, and if I don't know, we ask them, what specifically would you like to accomplish with your martial art training? And if whatever they say, we are usually can deliver. If somebody say to me, I just want my kid to be the biggest fighter, or maybe I would say, well, that's not all what we teach. And then we'll ask them, would you say, besides being a great fighter, he is very respectful or increases confidence of his self-esteem, would you see any value in that? It's not parents that are going to say, no, I don't care about that. Usually discipline and respect and confidence is the three things that any parent will do anything to reinforce on their kids. And at Victory, we make sure that we know how to deliver that value. And that's the reason that we are, I would say, successful, or we achieve more than other schools.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I remember when I was teaching and running a school, those are the top three things that people would say to me. Like, I was very rare to have somebody come in and say, I just want to learn how to fight, or I just want to get in shape. I mean, of course, adults, I mean, they want a good workout, they want to get in shape, they want to lose weight, so it makes sense. But for kids, like I'd always tell my story of how my dad started me in martial arts at, I think I was 7 years old. And at the time I had a really bad stuttering problem. So it was very, very, very tough to talk. And fast forward to when I get my first black belt and I became an assistant instructor, was teaching the Tigers class, and my stuttering was gone because I had this uniform on. It gave me a sense of authority, and my confidence was through the roof. And for people listening, like, if you have that skill as a child, you learn ambition that young, and you learn confidence and discipline. That's invaluable for marketing yourself later on as an adult, right? Because then you think about the competitions that you go through with tournaments, you think about the adversity, breaking a board, learning how to follow through, right? Learning life skills in the class. And it's just so valuable for kids to learn, especially now.
Yes. And even adults, sometimes they say, I don't care about self-defense, I just want to be in shape. Actually, they just say that because they don't want to be vulnerable and say, I really have low self-esteem, and usually they have as much as low self-esteem. Usually the adults have much lower self-esteem of the kids, but it's the adults, they are much more self-conscious about what they say.
Oh, you froze on me.
Can I get more confidence? Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, you froze on me for just a quick second, but you're back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So with managing schools, you obviously have instructors that you put in charge of those schools, or you put in charge of kids, and you put in charge of essentially teaching them a very, I don't want to say a dangerous thing, but something that could be potentially harmful, because obviously it's a physical activity, people get hurt. So in other words, there's a lot of trust that you put on your instructors. How do you choose those people from your staff, and how do you know the right person when you find them, and then make them an instructor?
When you design and develop a company and a business, you also design a culture for your company, and the people that they are attracted to your culture, is much easier for you to guide those people. That's the reason that if you can create people from within, and many of my instructors, the majority of my instructors, they were students before, and many of them, they were Tigers. I mean, I opened my first location in 1993. That's 27 years ago. Then I had many instructors today that they were 5 or 6 years old when they started. and today they are, I mean, they came out from the culture of victory martial art. And then the trust is something that people say trust, you need to earn it, but trust is something that you need to give. And yes, you can trust somebody and they can mess up the trust, they can break the trust. But the majority of the time that I give trust to people, that they were able to live up to that trust that I give to them. And again, you create a culture, you create a relationship and accountability, you create a reward system, and work. And if they feel that they are belong to this culture and they feel secure and they progressing and they feel recognized and they feel appreciated and they feel financially rewarded and they have freedom, all of those things, because to keep your best people, you need to be able to give them freedom, recognition, financial reward, and personal growth. Those are the four things that make employees or team members to stay with you. And again, I say financial freedom, recognition, and personal growth. They all need to feel like they're growing, they're learning. They all need to feel like they are free to be able to make decisions or to take the day off or whatever. They all need to feel like they are significant and they've been appreciated. And they all need to find somehow a financial reward that give them a good quality of life.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are the fourth ingredient.
Absolutely. So you mentioned a word that in business I feel like I hear a lot of, and I'm very active on LinkedIn as well, and I see a whole bunch of articles written about this and posts from top executives and CEOs. They always talk about creating a culture. And
yeah,
I've always felt with the company I'm with now, like I actually left for about 6 months because I thought I was going to go chase a bigger salary and bigger commission. I ended up coming back because of the culture of the company, because of the way that I felt. And freedom is definitely one of those things. And then obviously the income has to be there as well. But
sure.
how sorry, the headphones are making me stutter again. How would you say that you create your culture within your schools?
Then again, then you choose is there are a few ways. How to create a culture is that you constantly communicate what are your values, what do you appreciate, what are your values, what we value as a company, what are the benefits that we want to give to the parents, what is that we're gonna fight for. And then when you make this very public constantly, the people, or they come to you, or you choose the people or you create the conditions for people to join you, or you train the people to join you. I mean, or you choose them, or they come to you, or you create a condition, or you train them. They grow from within, and that's the way you create a culture. Now, if you ask me, what is the culture? Well, the culture usually is based on on the founders. Usually, most companies they create a culture based on the founders' belief. In this case, my belief. They were based on my parents, what they told me as a child and what I need to value. And one of the things is integrity and you know me from long time ago that I don't withhold any comments, or I'm a person that I express myself sometimes with too much freedom to the point that I hurt people's feelings very often. But the culture is what we call the carefrontation. When we care, we confront it, and we don't withhold. We don't hold back from expressing to each other or even to our seniors how we feel. It's just a culture of total openness and candid, very candid, and work for me and work for the people. And the people that they don't like that environment, they usually tend to leave. And the people that they like that, they embrace it and they stay. And that's the reason I have many instructors that they've been with me for over 20 years, and some for over 30 years, that they follow me from South America because of that. And that's the way the culture is created.
Thank you for putting in such a a simple manner. Because again, I feel like people write articles about how to create a culture, but they never break down the steps. So it's refreshing to hear that, because it sounds like you've done that multiple times at each school with each person, each personality that comes on board. Hey, buddy, go. Sorry, it's my son. He's coming to say hi. So there's been a lot of talk, and I remember back when I was in the American Taekwondo Association, of this term that's going around known as Mick Dojos, right? And
What is it?
it's called a Mick Dojo, like MCDO.
Okay, the Mac Dojo. Yes, yes.
Essentially, the concept of it is they're saying, it's just a whole bunch of schools for somebody to make money, and there's no real value taught there.
Yes.
But you've trained multiple world champions, national champions, district champions, state champions, and you yourself are also a world champion. Can you speak a little bit to that, and how do you keep the quality of the instruction across the board with every one of your schools and still keep as many schools as you have?
Yeah, because people tend to talk about quality as their quality is higher than the other quality, and actually when you have more resources, usually the quality is higher because you had more financial resources to invest in that quality. I mean, if let's say United States as an example, let's say Paraguay, the country has 8 million people, then you can have I don't know, I had a friend that went to the Olympics to swim as a swimmer, all right? And he was a great swimmer, but I also had the opportunity to interact with Michael Phelps and talk to him and asking him questions. And when I was able to see how Michael Phelps trained, and the environment that he trained, and the facility that he used, and the amount of coaches that he has, and the amount of I would say support that he has, and from doctors and coaches to researchers they do. I mean, there's no way that this friend of mine from Paraguay can even compete with Michael Phelps. It's just then, but here's the thing, quality coming from quantity. But people want to ignore that. And why I say that is because it's simple. Just look at again, in the United States, we had the best basketball players in the world. But also we had 320 million people in the United States, and at least I would say 50% of the people in the United States in one moment or another play with a basketball ball. I mean, or they even had a ring on their house. They had a basket in their house. That means there were at least 150 million people in one moment or other that try basketball. Okay? And that's the reason we had better basketball players, or we have better golfers than anybody in the world, because we have more golf academies and more golf fields than any other part of the world. Or we have let's say, for example, Brazil or Argentina or Germany, they had better soccer players than anybody in the world, because Brazil has 220 million people, and at least 100 million people in one moment or other they play soccer. Then of course, when you have a quantity, you're gonna have quality. We had the best soldiers in the world. The Navy SEALs in America and the Special Forces in America, no country in the world has any similar force like the United States. But we also had 3 million, and we had and then we have the facilities and the training and the research and the financial to support that training better than anybody. Then when the people trying to say, oh, they are just McDojos, what they're saying is, I hate them because they can do so much more than me. And I have to somehow find something wrong with them. If not, I'm gonna feel really bad. Then unfortunately, in the martial art, we do that. Not just in martial art, but we do that in martial art, trying to find trying to tear off, like Gandhi said many times, like, not because you're trying to tear off other people's light, yours will bright more, you know, or shine more. But we do that thinking that if I talk bad about somebody, I will be more, my light will shine more, which is not true at all. And yes, they are in that process. Let's say, for example, Starbucks has, I don't know, 8,000 coffee places in the United States, or maybe 30,000. I don't remember the amount. But still, some little coffee place in the corner there in Venice, or any place, can say, hey, my coffee is much better than Starbucks. But what is better or quality? When you own a business, the quality of what is better need to be judged by the customer, not by the person that making the coffee. Because it's like, if your wife cooks a delicious meal but you don't like it, it's not a delicious meal. You know, I mean, if any chef make the greatest dish but nobody like it, it's not a great dish.
Right.
Then what Victory does is, Victory has a recipe. I create recipes to have the best dishes that the majority of the people find delicious. And I didn't make this recipe to impress another martial art instructor. I didn't make that recipe to impress on one guy that has 30 students and bitching about something. I make the recipe for the parents and the students to appreciate how can I also enjoy martial art and have the benefits of martial art. And that's what I did with Victory.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if that makes sense for you.
Yeah, definitely. The time that I've come across something like that where people are bad mouthing a certain style or anything else. I mean, as you see, especially with MMA or the UFC, you have people of different styles that have come into play, and then you see people that go, "Oh, the Taekwondo guy got smashed by the guy that's a good wrestler." But you fast forward to 15 years down the road, and everything evolves, right? And it shows that truly the best martial arts is a mixture of all of them. But then you look at people like Anthony Pettis, for example, right? I mean,
absolutely.
He is an amazing technician. I remember I sparred him once at nationals, and I was amazed at how fast he was. He was just incredibly fast. But then so many people would badmouth ATA and badmouth point fighting and everything else as if it was not really effective. But then he steps into WEC, he wins the title, he beats Benson Henderson, becomes famous for the super kick off the cage, which no one had ever seen before. And then he goes to UFC, and he's the lightweight champion for a good amount of time there. So that's why I say people, it's like anytime that they badmouth ATA or they badmouth Taekwondo as an artist, I go, look at Anthony Pettis. You tell me you want to go with him?
There are many Taekwondo, in the MMA, there are many Taekwondo fighters. Anderson Silva is a Taekwondo, you know, just to mention somebody. And there are other that they are traditional Japanese, like Mashida and George St. Pierre, that is Kyokushin, and they are wrestlers that they become very good. And they are and I mean, I think what happened in MMA is great because they evolved, and yes, a good kicker, when they learn to defend themselves from a wrestler, they have more chances. Or a good wrestler, when they learn to strike, they have many chances. Because martial art wasn't designed to fight against another martial arts. Martial art was the beginning of martial art was designed just to preserve our body and be a little bit more flexible. That way we are not so stiff. That way our muscles can breathe and we can have a good life. And until today, I think that's the main reason that we do martial art, just to be healthier. The fact that if we need to use our art as a self-defense, and that will, if that ever happen, which is, I don't know, I've been in the United States for 31 years, and I never really fight a long fight. I have a couple incidents that finish in 2 or 3 seconds, but I never fight. Now in South America, you have to fight because that was part of our lifestyle in the street and going to places. You don't have the police, you don't have 911, and that was in that time. But here, it's not necessary. Now, if you go to fight MMA, obviously, you cannot be just a kicker. You cannot be just a wrestler. You can, because you're gonna fight with people that they are preparing different areas, and you need to be versatile, and you need to be learning how to avoid being grabbed. And I did this in South America much before the United States. I did MMA, and we did, and I wasn't that good, let's say, boxing, and I didn't enjoy wrestling either. That's the reason I was a good kicker, and that was, I learned how to defend myself from somebody trying to take me down, things like that. But it was not my, and nobody was paying us. Also, it was all just as a hobby, and you get hurt. And was fun, but I also was 18, 19 years old. But I think martial art, we need to keep insisting that martial art is not a sport. Martial art is a way of life. And martial art, what it does is reinforce values and give you confidence to be a better human being. And that's the way we do a victory. Martial art is to maximize your potential, whatever that potential you want to focus on. If you want to be more physical, victory will reinforce that. If you want to be more mental, more emotional, you want to reinforce your values, victory will reinforce that. And that's what I believe martial arts should be for.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So jumping back to the sales portion of it, because I remember pulling out an old phone script that you had given us a long time ago. This is just like about a year ago. I found it in one of my folders, and I was reading through it, and I was surprised because corporations like the one that I work for, they reinvest millions of dollars into their sales training every single year to retrain sales reps to not just penetrate the account, but create a sense of urgency, create the incentive, and then go for the close. Before developing your victory martial arts scripts and like intro, first lesson, had you studied any of that previously, or was that just all off the top of your head?
No, the majority of the stuff that I do, usually I copy from somewhere else. I mean, it's not like nothing coming just from my head. What happened is sometimes when I read something or I learn something and then I experience it, I can add something or remove something based on my personality or based on what I feel that would be more beneficial for people. With the scripts, basically in the script, what are you trying to do is create, just like any communication skills, create a meaningful conversation. If I start a meaningful conversation, and meaningful mean that you have interest on the conversation, and have to be meaningful for you, then if it's not meaningful for you, that's not a good conversation. Then if I just talking about myself, that won't be meaningful for you. Unless you ask me a question about myself. But if I just meet you in a bar or anywhere and I just talk about myself, I don't think you will be interested in me. Then listening, asking questions. If I ask you, and any script, if I ask you what exactly would you like to accomplish with your martial art training, and then you tell me, well, I just want to improve my physical fitness, I would even say, okay, I'm glad you mentioned that. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because maybe physical fitness for me mean one thing different what it mean for you. Then when I enter this conversation, need to be meaningful for you. Then I need to show you that I have interest to know more about you. If I show interest to know more about your needs, then I can schedule an appointment, and you will come to the appointment because you will feel like, hey, this man look like he really care about me. I'm gonna go to meet him personally. And when you come, I again engage in a very, very caring, meaningful conversation. And then when I create a trust with you, you will tell me exactly how you feel and what you need. And if I can give you the hope that you will receive that benefit of your needs, you will enroll with me. And that's just for me, that's a common sense now, especially that I'm older. But that's what I understood always, and that's what we're trying to do. And I hope my team members understand that and doing the same. But that requires a lot of training, especially when you're young, because usually when you're young, it's much harder to even understand about caring. Because now I remember when I met you, you were like 18 years old. Is that right?
Close. I was actually 17.
Yeah. Then it would be hard for you to even understand what care means, because you were in a developed. Now that you have kids and you have wife and everything else, you understand what caring means very much. And
Absolutely.
that's what we need to translate that to our team members. And if they can understand that, and the script can help them to practice that, then you will have a fantastic sell.
Absolutely. That's an art I think is lost amongst many people. And jumping back to the podcast name of Stop Interviewing, Start Selling, that's why I tell people, when you go in for an interview, or you're looking for a job, you're looking to progress or to get a promotion, you can't just go and ask for the interview. You have to ask for the opportunity to sell yourself. And with martial arts, the way that I learned that was not just in the intro lesson, but also teaching from the floor, which was a whole different skill, right? Because you have to have a good class, you have to add value. And as a professional within a chosen career, you have to add that value. I've had people ask me before, what would you do in order to get to this place, or to this level of income, or to this spot in the company? And I always tell them the same thing: pretend that you already are at that spot and start doing the things that that person would be doing. And the response is either one of two things: either take the advice and then they get the spot because they're putting more out, or they don't take the advice and they go, well, that's not my job. If they want me to do that, they'll just have to pay me for it. It's like all about me. Rather, it should be, what can you do for the company and for your customers and clients, right? I mean, it's the same thing as somebody that complains about the customer service of the company, but they never put forth a solution to fix the issue. They always approach it with, hey, because of this, I lost this deal, I lost the sale, I lost this customer, that person needs to be written up, instead of saying, look, it sounds like there's some kind of maybe a disconnect there, and this is my solution. And that should be the first thing. That's just my opinion. So
yes.
Are you still competing personally?
No.
How come? You seem like you're in great shape.
I mean, maybe in martial art, I mean, what does it say? To compete is to conspire. I compete at a different level in my life, but actually right now I'm semi-retired, but I don't want to use that retired, because what I'm gonna do if I'm retired? But I do think that I'm very blessed that I'm able to do things that only require a minimal time of me and my work, because I have many partners and COOs and directors that they're doing a great job. And I spend more time in my relationship. I have a fantastic relationship. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I like to travel. I like to play golf. And competition is, maybe I compete in golf very often, but just in martial art, no, I don't.
I gotcha. Your daughter's very pretty, by the way, as is your wife. You definitely married
Thank you very much.
Although with the silver fox thing you got going on, you look pretty good too, sir.
Well, I inherited this from my mother. My mother was, she's still alive, and she has all her hair is really, really silver white, early in life. And I remember telling her, I'm sure I'm going to inherit, and I start to have white hair, maybe in the last 10 years or more. And, and that's, and I won't do anything to change that either.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what happened to me. Like, I don't know if you remember meeting my dad a long time ago, but he actually started graying.
Yeah.
I think he was 35. He was completely gray. So,
oh, wow.
I'm 33. I don't know if you can tell by the light, but if you look closely, you can see the silver streaks.
Yeah.
So.
Not yet.
Yeah,
but you will.
Not totally yet. Yeah. My wife loves it. At first, I was like, I don't know about that.
That's very important. That's very important.
Absolutely.
And if your wife loves you, even if she doesn't really love it, she will tell you that she loves it. Yeah.
It was the same thing when she makes dinner, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, sir, thank
Exactly.
you.
We should do the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on my show, sir. I really
Uh,
appreciate it.
my
I'm so
pleasure.
honored to have you
I'm
on.
glad you're doing well, and
Thank
I
you so much.
keep helping people because it's what you take is what you give, and if you keep giving, you keep receiving. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
My pleasure. Anytime. Reach out anytime. All right.
We'll do, sir. Lastly, we'll close with
Okay.
this. If somebody wanted to find your website, your literature online, what's the website they can go to?
The website is victoryma.com. Victoryma.com, and if we can serve anybody. We're doing classes online now. That mean we can be reached from any part of the world. We had classes online, and my top instructor and my son. I don't know if you remember him, but my son also is very active on the online classes also. If they can, or go to the website and check, or if you need to communicate with us, or anybody want to communicate with us, they can do it that way also. All
Yes,
right.
definitely. Well, thank you again,
Okay.
sir. And everybody listening, thank you so much
My
for listening
pleasure.
to Stop Interviewing, Start Selling. I'm your host, Phil Meyer. Tune in next week, and we'll talk to you guys later on. Thank you again, sir.